screen. Amanda's just recording the session now. So I just wanted to come and say hi to everyone and introduce Wayne, and then he will take it from here. But from my perspective, today's a really exciting day. It's probably the first time that as an organisation we've got this many coaches together for learning and professional development. And that's good from my perspective. I think it's great from an organisational perspective that we're able to invest in this type of program and invest in you as individual coaches. But what's more exciting for me is the fact that you're all willing to give up your time from your busy coaching schedules and prioritise your own professional development. From our perspective, obviously in terms of an organisation and the success of our athletes, having really good, capable coaches is critical, and that's what this program is about. And we can, we'll raise the bar. If we can raise the bar right across the organisation in terms of our coaches, then obviously that's going to flow through to all aspects of the organisation. So, from my perspective, I congratulate all of you for taking this first step and committing to be a part of this program. So I think it's a really exciting program. We're extremely lucky to have someone of Wayne Goldsmith's quality and experience on board with us as an organisation. Most of you, I'm sure all of you will know Wayne. He's prolific in the coach education and development space, and in particular in swimming, but across multiple sports. We call him, I'd go as far as to call him a world guru in this space. So from our perspective, to have him involved in this program is really exciting, and you should all try and learn and absorb as much as you can from Wayne over the coming months and year. So from Swimming New Zealand's perspective, congratulations all of you on being a part of this journey. Well done on making this commitment, and Wayne, thank you for giving up your time and energy to be part of this program. We look forward to working with you over the coming years. So Wayne Goldsmith, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Steve. And look, as for Australian rugby, I don't know. I think that they need a lot of help. I was on a phone call last night with Gaelic football in Ireland, and I'm doing a 2-day workshop for them, November 23rd, November 24th in Dublin. And they raised the same issue. They said, what's wrong with Australian rugby? And I said, look, it's a lot of neglect over a long period of time, but there's a great story. I'm not sure everybody knows that rugby in Australia is basically the fourth of the four codes. I'm in Melbourne at the moment. AFL is massive. Rugby league's clearly second. Football, which is soccer, anything above teenagers is about third. Up until then, it's massive, as it is in most countries. And then rugby's a very, very distant fourth, where most of the players come from the private school system. Now, about 6 years ago, Touch Football Australia, with around 400,000 participants, knocked on the door of Rugby Australia and said, we want to partner with you. And that would have fixed so many problems, because all of a sudden they would have been the second largest in terms of participation. They would have a huge group of males and females, which could have fed through to their elite pathway systems. They could have had a ready-made pathway, particularly for female players who could emerge from that into sevens and 15s. And of course, sevens is an Olympic sport. And Rugby Australia said no, because they weren't comfortable with the co-branding idea. They then knocked on the door of Rugby League, and now Touch Football is called NRL Touch Football, and they increased their participation by about 300,000 participants in one swoop. I think that's a pretty good summary of where they're at from participation base. From a high performance base, about the same time I got asked to go in and do some work with Rugby Australia, and they wanted to know how do we go forward. And the theme was go forward, but everybody in the room was Dick Marks, who coached the Wallabies in the 70s, Bob Dwyer, who coached the Wallabies in the 70s and 80s. It was all their former Wallaby coaches, and each one of them took turns standing up and saying, we've got to go back and do what we're doing. At the same time, because as some of you know, I've got a little bit of a relationship with people like Wayne Smith that I've known for a long time. At the same time Rugby Australia was doing that, the All Blacks leaders were in New York working with the New York City Ballet, studying performance under pressure, how to execute precision and accuracy under fatigue. They were opening their world and looking at how do we get better and more expansive in our thinking. And the best we could come up with was, let's go back to what we were doing 50 years ago, which at that time there was no internet. We still thought that Sony Walkman were really, really good ideas. We still thought that the height of culinary expertise was going to a Chinese restaurant on Friday night, because that's all there was. There wasn't all this incredible variation and all the wonders that we've got now. And that was our solution, was to go back 50 years to turn things around. I think that says a lot about the organisation, always looking forward. But anyway, thank you for being on. Should be an interesting game on Saturday. I think the best four teams are clearly coming to the surface, but I'm sure you're very nervous because Ireland is in absolutely red hot form. This program is something that I believe really passionate about. My journey here, I'm not going to go and bore you to tears, but I made a decision a long time ago. I was doing some age group coaching and I enjoyed it, and I had some opportunities to do different things, but I went to a seminar and there was a coach developer got up and he said, coaching is change. That in its essence, you go to a finance coach to change your finances, you go to a life coach to change your life, you go to a marriage coach when your partner says maybe we should see other people, you go to a coach to change your behavior. That's the end product of coaching and leadership in all their different forms, is changing attitudes and changing behavior, changing actions. And this guy said, look, coaching is change and we are the masters of change. And then he said, if you want to change a life, become a coach. But if you want to change the nation, coach the coaches. And that one line changed the course of my life, because I thought, yeah, well, this is really good. And I love working with the kids, and it's something that I enjoy doing, and I still enjoy when I get the chance to work directly with athletes. But I thought there's a bigger game here, that if I focus my professional career on helping coaches to realize their potential and be extraordinary at coaching, the impact that they can subsequently have on tens of thousands of athletes is a far greater impact than I can make just working with a handful myself. And that's why I chose this path that I'm on. And it's an incredibly exciting one, because every day I learn from coaches, I learn with coaches, and learning continues to accelerate. And I'll give you a very good example, guys, from 2 weeks ago. I was at the Swimming Coaches and Teachers Association conference on the Gold Coast, and Bill Sweetenham claims that that was going to be his last ever conference presentation. I don't know. I said to him, mate, I wasn't going to come because I know there'll be another 487 of these, but he claims it's his last ever swimming presentation. And in the room was Michael Bowl, Laurie Lawrence, but Michael Bowl, who's currently coaching Kayla McEwen and Emma McKeon. And I've seen Bowley present a lot. I've seen him present on training 400 meter, 400 IMers. I saw him do a presentation on the training and development of Stephanie Rice, triple Olympic gold medalist. I saw him do presentations on training sprinters, because he's done that. I saw him do a presentation on coaching middle distance freestyle when he coached Pak Tae-wan to win, I think, 200, 400 Olympic Games as men. Bowley's done a lot of stuff. But what he presented coaches on that day just said to me, the essence of greatness in coaching is continuing to learn and improve, because I've never seen him present better. One, his actual presentation was great. I mean, he just nailed it. There was no ums and ahs. There were no pauses. It was slick. But the content he delivered about the girls, the precision and accuracy of his coaching is beyond anything I've ever seen. There's no 10 100s on 140 or 6 400s on 530 and hoping for the best. The accuracy and detail and precision of his coaching clearly says to me that's where he is. But he's improved so much as a coach since the last time I saw him speak about 5 years ago. And I sat there and that he's a guy that's trained multiple Olympic gold medalists, men and women, age groupers and opens, sprinters and distance swimmers, and he's still getting better. Is it any wonder that his athletes continue to improve? And it hit me in the head, colleagues, that the way to help our athletes the most is to continue to accelerate our rate of learning and our rate of development faster than theirs. to not only stay true to the things that we believe in, our core values and our beliefs as coaches, but in terms of technical knowledge and skill and our understanding of the sport, to continue to learn and grow and get better at what we do every day. And Bowley finished up the presentation. He said, I've changed my thinking. I used to talk to coaches about training and competition. He said, we're now thinking it's more like rehearsal and performance, and that at world level, it's not about just doing the laps, doing the miles, getting the job done. It's about precision, accuracy, detail, being specific, and it's about having a really rigorous process to produce quality workouts and then quality athletes. And it was at a level I've never seen before. And I really get blown away by sessions that I go to. But I thought, wow, he is a guy who's clearly the best coach that we've got. His scope of what he's achieved over 40 years is absolutely incredible. Yet he's continuing to learn and improve. And the precision and accuracy of his workout was something that I've never seen before. And it's inspired me to try and take it up another level. So I'm going to share a few quick slides on where, Amanda, if you can just enable me as a co-sharer or a co-host, or
that should be done now. Just want to check.
Fantastic, thank you. Just confirming that should be a black screen on the
Yep.
screen which says Coach Ted.
Yeah.
So the name of the program, Coach Ted, Training, Education and Development, and the way I pronounce it is just coached. Is the end product of the program is that I've coached you, you've coached me, and coached just runs off the tip of the tongue, I think. So Coach, Training, Education and Development, we've sort of kicked off. I've done some one-on-ones with some of you. I've got to apologise to Ali for yesterday. Sorry, Ali. Just could not get Google to boot, and I tried it 6 or 7 times. I disconnected and reconnected. I did everything I possibly could, and in the end, Google sorted it out for me. It was a virus. So
No stress.
Terribly apologetic for that one. Yesterday morning, just could not get on. That and that. All right. So the overall program philosophy looks like this. I call it agile, and there's those of you that have got a business background or have been through leadership seminars have probably come across the term agile. I'm using it in a slightly different sense. I call it accelerated growth, inspiration, learning, and excellence, because what I think there is at the moment, and some of you have indicated that you agree with this, but I think that there's an opportunity in the sport right now to look at things differently. And as I just indicated with Bowley, that what I'm seeing in the sport around the world is it's shifted from coaching swimmers to coaching with swimmers. We've gone from telling and yelling and coaching athletes to building partnerships with them and giving them ownership and responsibility over the training standards that they set to help them achieve their specific goals and realize their potential. I think there's a massive opportunity for this group and for New Zealand, but specifically for this group, to see the way that the sport is heading, to adapt quickly to what we're seeing the changing needs of teenagers particularly are, and to coach them in a way that maybe the rest of the world hasn't quite caught up to yet. The default model of this sport, when I travel around the world, the default model of coaching pretty much everywhere I go is kids in the water, whiteboard with a long workout written on it, which gets explained once, and coaches standing at the end of the pool yelling times. That's still the default model of the way we deliver the experience of this wonderful sport around the world. And I think we can do better. And I think more than that, I believe that the athletes are looking for better. They're looking for better relationships. They're looking for coaches that are demonstrating a real interest in them holistically, that are looking at to help them and connect with them as human beings, to think about them as more than just split times and PBs, but to look at them as young New Zealanders with incredible aspiration and wonderful talent, and helping them by providing the opportunity and creating the environment for them to be all that they choose to be. I think more than anything, where I'd like to see this group evolve and learn and grow over the next 18 months or so is that you realize the opportunity that's right in front of you, that you can try and copy and try and just do more of what we've all done, or you can see it as a moment in time where we know, and everyone I've spoken to one-on-one will tell me, kids are a little bit different. They're looking for something different. They're looking for a relationship. They're looking for responsibility and ownership. They're looking for something different in the experience of the sport. And I believe that the First Nation to really nail that is going to gain a significant advantage, not just in performance, but in retention through those teenage years. I did a Twitter post yesterday. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's easy. It's just Wayne Goldsmith on Twitter. You'll be able to pick it up, or I can send the link. But when I do workouts with coaches now, guys, I try to get coaches to think about this is the workout. And if you want to improve your workouts, go online. There's so much incredible stuff on workouts and drills and skills and sets and reps, and you can download Michael Phelps' program or Kate Campbell. All that stuff's there. You don't need me to link you to that. You can show that. You can pick up your phone and it's all there. My question, and one of the real focus areas of this program, will be what's not written on the whiteboard. What are the spaces between the lines? What are the things that are not written? So the set could be 16 100s on 140. Well, what's not written? What are the things that coaching is really about, other than just sets and reps and repeats and volume, intensity and frequency? What is this really about? And can we get better at coaching the things that are not on the board? Can we get better at coaching the gaps and the lines between the workout? Because again, that's what coaching is about, the art and the science blended together to create the environment and give the opportunity for athletes to be all that they choose to be. So the cornerstone of the program, Agile, to allow us as a group to adapt quickly to the change and the opportunity, which I honestly believe is there, to respond rapidly and flexibly to the needs of individual swimmers. So to have a program and have a structure by all means, but then how do I work with athletes? How do I connect with athletes? How do I, in recent story from working with Sweetenham on deck, that I've seen some changes in Bill that have been mind-blowing. And one of the things that he does, and a lot of the coaches do with senior athletes, and I know some of you do as well, following our one-on-ones, is to send the workouts to the athletes the night before. Obviously, we're not talking about 10-year-olds, but to send the athletes their workouts the night before they come in and have them set their own goals, have them go through the workout and think about it, have them come in and discuss with the coach their standard and what they're going to commit to achieving and take responsibility for achieving in their workout. And that's a critical term, is to have swimmers go from saying, well, that's the workout, I'm going to take ownership and responsibility of that workout and make it my workout and do it better than anyone could ever believe is possible. And the argument I presented at a session a couple of weeks ago, if Sweetenham can change and adapt to the way that he's delivering on his core philosophies, which haven't changed, but the way he delivers them has, then I think there's opportunity for all of us to lead change intelligently and effectively. This session I'm doing with Gaelic football is all about some massive changes that they're making in the sport. And the argument that they put forward, and I think it's a good one, is that as coaches are largely responsible for delivering the day-to-day experience of sport, then it's critically important that we empower the coaches to lead the changes that the sport needs. This is on Gaelic football. And that's what I believe more than anything. You are the ones with the relationships with the athletes. You are the ones who deliver the experience of swimming. You are the ones who make swimming a remarkable experience that kids fall in love with. And that's so important, coaches, in all levels of sport and in all sports. If you love what you do what you love. And if they love what they do and do what they love, that means they keep coming. The only swimmer who can't get better is the one who's not there. And if our priority is how do we create an environment where they fall in love with being in and around water, so they want to be in and around water, they keep coming, and then they can improve and learn and grow with your leadership, your direction, and your coaching. If they're not there, if they're sitting at home watching Xbox at 15 with amazing capillaries and wonderful VO2 max, but they hate the sport, we've failed. We achieve great physiology, but in terms of the bigger picture, which is creating the environment where they fall in love with the sport and they want to keep doing it, we haven't succeeded. And I think that's a great part of what we do. And then pursue a commitment to continuous improvement to give swimmers in New Zealand a competitive advantage. And guys, as I said, I'm lucky that at the end of the year, I'm working in swimming in England, in Ireland, in Spain, in Germany, and in Scotland. I get to see a lot of swimming all around the world. I get to see a lot of good coaches. I get a lot to see coaches that need to do a bit of work. I get to see age groupers and learn to swim in my day-to-day job, and I get to see elite level athletes and world-class athletes as well. And I promise you that that delivery of the sport, that standing at the end yelling at kids, is the default mechanism of delivering our sport pretty much all over the world. Those of you that know teenagers, have teenagers, work with teenagers, know that that's not something that they're responding to. They're looking for something different. They're not looking for an easy path. They're not looking for a soft path. They're not asking you to compromise on what you believe is true in your coaching philosophies. They're looking for a different relationship from us. And if we can nail this, there is a competitive advantage for New Zealand and a competitive advantage for swimmers. So our 5 core activities. First of all, the webinars, where we've tried as much as possible with the help of Amanda and Gary, who've led this really well. They make me look good, which is difficult. But the webinars will be monthly, and they'll be theme-based and aligned as much as possible to the competitive swimming calendar as much as possible. So, for example, it would be really silly to do a session on tapering and peaking the week after Nationals. Ideally, that there will be a theme of tapering and peaking about 5 to 6 weeks away or further away from a targeted competition. It would be really silly to do a session on developing a physiological capabilities, including aerobic base, when you're in peaking and tapering mode, because it's the wrong time and the wrong pitch. So as much as possible, we're going to try and align the topics of the webinars around the swimming calendar. Up until February, it'll be largely delivered by me and with a couple of special guests on a theme. Once we get to February and we get to the camp, I'll be asking you, what do you want for the next 8 or 9 to come? What would you like to see? What would you like to see more of? Would you like special guests? I've got a rugby coach coming in who you'll all know halfway through next year is a bit of a treat just to talk about coaching. And I've got a sports scientist, Dr. David Pine, coming in at one stage to talk about 30 years and 40 years in physiology and the things that he's learned about building different capabilities. But after we get to February, the next 9 of them will be largely based on your needs and what you identify as important to you, and we can adapt from there. The one-on-ones, some of you have indicated that you'd like to just make an appointment, schedule some time, and come in with a list, and we just talk, and that's worked reasonably well. Some others have said, no, I'd like a structured program where I'd like to come in and say we're doing strategic planning and we're talking about periodization and we're talking about leadership, and it'll be more of a traditional style syllabus, if you like. Happy to do it either way or a blend. I suspect that where it'll end up is probably a blend from experiences that coaches will come in, and the topic might be of a one-on-one that you've identified could be leadership, and sooner or later I'll end up talking about political issues like dealing with committees, dealing with parents, a couple of challenging swimmers, pool space, those sort of things will come in, and that's perfectly fine. Whatever that the need that you have, that's an opportunity to have me as a critical friend and as someone who's outside your local political system, just to give you some opportunity to bounce ideas and reflect. And if you need to vent, I'm good at listening and talking. Small group meetings. Now, small group meetings, I wasn't quite sure how that was going to go. I knew that I wanted to put small group learning into the coach program, but I couldn't quite get a handle on where we're going to go with it. But it became really, really clear from the one-on-ones that that's an amazing opportunity for us to just talk technique. And one of my mentor coaches, a guy called Don Talbot, used to say, he said, coaches are really good talking about sets and reps. They're not that good about getting in. They'll talk about drills, but they don't really get into talking and discussing technique to any sort of depth. And I think this is where we can get a great advantage as a group. So the idea of the small group learning, and we've allocated groups based on disparate, well, let's say far away geographies. So as many of you know, as much as we love this sport and we enjoy doing what we're doing, quite often two coaches in the same town doesn't work. So we've tried as much as possible to split the groups up so that in a perfect world, someone from Northland, someone from Napier, someone from Christchurch, someone from Southland, someone from Auckland. It'd be something like that so that there's a lower chance of political conflict. But it just also means that instead of talking about coaching and technique and skills with coaches in your own area, which you've probably done a lot, you're getting exposure to different ways of thinking. The other reason why I've got small groups is that when you're on a national team, it's not about your club, your program, it's about New Zealand, and you've got to get used to working in small groups and swapping ideas and helping athletes get better by the open and honest and trusting relationships you form within a national team. So this is part of that preparation. So the idea behind the small groups is that I would invite you to turn up with a 30-second to 1-minute video of a swimmer in your team where you're having some technical issues that you're not quite able to make the changes and improvements that you'd like to present that to our group of 4 or 5. And to say, look, I'm having some real problems with her breaststroke or his butterfly, whatever it might be, with their turns. Have you guys got any suggestions? That's going to be a very powerful learning tool. And if that evolves, that becomes quite a wonderful opportunity to get some breakthroughs with athletes that you just quite haven't been able to change. That there's that line about someone with a hammer, every problem is a nail. And I think what happens quite often with athletes is that you see them every day, you see them twice a day, you've seen them for years, and there can be some really obvious technical changes that are right in front of you that you may not see because you see them every day. Sharing them with our small groups, someone else might go, I had exactly the same problem with one of my athletes, try this. Someone else will say, hey, I had the same problem too, and we did this and this. So that's a place where we'll grow our own learning around technique and skills. Leading on from that is the camp in February. And when we come together in the camp, those small groups will still work together, but in more of a what I would call a national team type environment. So you'll have a group of swimmers to coach over those 2.5 to 3 days. And in your groups, that the task will be to write workouts that are appropriate for a learning camp situation, not a training camp situation. It's a learning camp situation, to present a workout to the other members of your small group and get critiqued by it, have input, have some adjustment, get some feedback. Can be really confronting for coaches who've never been through it because workouts are quite often our babies because they represent our philosophy. But again, for those of you that are heading to national, international representation, sharing your workout with the whole group is something that you just do routinely in a national team, and getting comfortable in that environment, coaching swimmers that you don't necessarily know, getting to know them quickly, working as a coaching group, sharing ideas, having workouts presented and critiqued and improved from the feedback of your peers is an absolutely core skill of an international level coach. So that's one of the reasons that'll be a good fun. We're going to do there'll be coach development work. I think there's 6 short sessions in the pool. There'll be some mental skills training and mental skills development. I'm trying to convince Amanda and Gary to hold on the Saturday night a thing called New Zealand's Got Talent, where I'll get you as coaches to lead your groups in a little bit of a fun exercise, skits and those sort of things. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So we're working on that. And you don't have to get up and sing if you don't want to, but you can. And then finally, the last element of this is social media, which is the Facebook page. Hopefully you've all joined the groups page. And that'll be a place where I'll put information and articles and short videos. I'm about to do one talking about Michael Bowl and what I saw and the learning I got from watching Bowley in his continuing improvement. And I'll present things like that. But that's a private group. That's just to share information and ideas about swimming and sports science and all the different things that we believe are important. Final slide, because I wanted a few. The bottom line is for everybody that this is your program. So this is, if you just want to learn about workouts and drills, as I said, there are apps. There's my colleague Glenn Mills's wonderful Go Swim TV. work where you can get thousands of technique videos. If what you're really about is I want to learn about sets and reps and workouts and drills, there's so much of that stuff freely available. And I wouldn't put it at the top of the priority list. But the bottom line is this is your program. If the group says, no, we want this to be about sports science, well, that's the way we'll go. Let's try and work together to make it work for you. So what I'd say is that I'd hate to get to 12 months from now and people say, no, that was no good. It was a bit of a waste of my time. There was nothing there for me. Please tell me before the end of the year, or tell me at February, tell me as early as possible if it's not quite working in the way that you'd hoped, or you're not getting the information or getting out of it what you'd hoped. Let me know as early as possible so we've got time to adjust. We've got some really interesting people in this group. We've got someone completing a postdoctoral study in England. We've got former athletes who are still trying to get their heads around what coaching's all about and making the transition. We've got some very experienced and very smart coaches working in different parts of the country. This is a very, very good group of coaches with the skills and the capabilities to do some remarkable things. And I'm not so much a teacher or a tutor. I'm really a facilitator and a guide and someone who's just going to provide opportunities for the group to learn. So that's all I had, Amanda and Steve and Gary, if he's on. And I thought we could either open it up for questions, or if you had something additional, Amanda, Gary, in the admin or the day-to-day running of the program that you could add, or we can open it up to questions, or leave it up to you.
Thanks, Wayne. Only thing I will say is that Gary has put his own apologies. He's actually away to Vegas this week to his daughter's wedding. So obviously he would have loved to be here to see the kickoff of this. It's obviously been a couple of months coming to fruition. It's great to see everybody on here. For those who aren't on the Facebook group yet, I will send that link out after this meeting. And I'll send the recording as well, just in case there's anything that you wanted to go back and listen to. So yeah, just wanted to say that. Steve, anything from you? No. Okay, probably over to the group then, if you've got any questions, comments, any feedback or anything like that.
Amanda, it's Ali here. How are you?
Hi, Ali.
I was just wondering, obviously we're not going to be in every other small group meetings. Is that stuff going to be recorded and available as well?
Great question. Wayne?
Is the small groups that you would be a part of? Yes. Yeah.
No, I mean the small groups that we're not part of.
I'd have to say my initial reaction would be no, purely because I've every place is a little bit different, Ali, but I've deliberately asked to have those groups set up across geographical lines where there's less likely of conflict. So I'll give you an example that if we make those available and you're in Christchurch and there's another coach or coaches from Christchurch coaching swimmers who are direct competition with your group, then that starts to really test the boundaries of trust, and it may not be conducive of opening up. The idea of that, the small groups, is that within that 5 or 6, because they're so split across the country, is that I'm trying to create a environment where we can build trust, where there's no day-to-day, where they're not going to be talking about that swimmer today and in direct competition with that swimmer and coach the next day in a local competition. So no, my feel is no. But if the group feels strongly about it, then I can re-look at it.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
Thanks, Wayne. Thanks, Ali. Great question. Anybody else? No, all good. Steve, do you want to close the meeting?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Once again, thanks everyone for taking time to come and join the session, and thanks Wayne for a really good introduction to the program. I'm really excited about what's going to happen over the next 12 or so months. But as Wayne said, this is all about you people on this call. This is your program, so keep the feedback coming in, either to Wayne or to Amanda and Gary. But you know, the only thing I can say is just learn as much as you can from this program, from each other, absorb what Wayne is telling you, and, you know, get together with your cohorts, your small groups, and just really see this as a fantastic learning opportunity. You know, the more that we can all learn, the more we're going to be able to improve our great sport. So congratulations on being involved, and I'm really excited about the next sort of 12 months. So thanks everyone for jumping on. I think that's it.
Thanks, Steve. Wayne, we just had a question from David. Thanks, David. When are you looking at for the first small group sessions to start?
Yeah, I'd like to get there. I'll work with Amanda and Gary and get that out. I'd like to be starting in the next 2 weeks, and then there'll be a format. It'll be 5 or 6 here are the people. This is what you can bring to the first meeting. If you don't want to bring something to the first meeting until you see how it goes, I'll bring in some video of an elite swimmer, or I'll get Glenn Mills maybe to come in, and I'll get him to give me a couple of videos to show. We can do that to kick off, but it's really a session aimed at helping you in context. I'm going to do as much as possible. There's so much stuff again online, which is what I call generic, that I'll try as much. And I know when I work with football teams now, I go into an NRL team, I'm on the field with the coaches, I'm in the coaching box with the coaches, change rooms, because the best learning for coaches is in context with their own athletes. So as much as possible, I want to go away from these are 5 things you do to improve butterfly to is this is how you can help that athlete in your program right now with their butterfly. A great line from Gennady Turetsky, that swimming techniques like handwriting. Every swimmer is different. Every technique is different. There's some big principles, some big concepts that are similar around head and hips and those things. So us doing a generic, these are the top 10 butterfly drills that you can do. Google that and you'll get 1,000 of them. This is more about how can we as a group collectively with hundreds of years of collective experience in this sport help you and help your swimmer right here, right now with their technique and help them get better at what they do. So that'll be something really important. I know don't want to take Steve's thunder, but my final thought was, as an Australian who's been to New Zealand 50 times or more, every time New Zealand has decided to be the best in the world, they've done it. And you know the story better than I. In rugby, of course, in netball, in cricket, in swimming, obviously, we're going way back with Loader, in canoe kayak, in sailing, in technology, in movies, of course. Every time New Zealand has decided, in distance running, going further back with Lydiard, every time New Zealand has made a decision to be the best in the world, you've done it. The underlying philosophy that I would really like to see come to the fore is to be the best in the world, you've got to do it the New Zealand way. There's a way, there's a style, there's a philosophy of coaching in New Zealand that will give you the success that you're looking for. Learn from other people, absorb knowledge, assess it, but then put it through the New Zealand filter. And never forget that every time a nation of 4 million people at the bottom of the world has decided to be the best in the world, you guys have done it. This is no different. Have no illusion that the answers are not across the ditch. They're not in the United States. The answers, I believe, that you'll find to make you great will come from within the sport, within this group, by doing it a uniquely New Zealand way. Your track record as a nation over 100 years is remarkable. And never forget that, guys. Every time New Zealand has decided to be the best in the world, you've done it. And there is no reason why this group can't lead that same standard of excellence in all things aquatics.
Yeah.
Great message to end on, Wayne. So guys, just obviously from here, I'll just to repeat myself, I'll email everybody and make sure that you've got the calendar and the link to the Facebook page. And the next meeting that we'll all see each other together on will be the 8th of November. So I'll send out that link for this meeting as well. Thank you, guys. All right, well, you enjoy your days, and we'll catch up again soon.
Right, thanks everyone.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers.